Man, I honestly drank so much coffee today that I'm actually fucking shaking. It's
Oh
ridiculous.
yeah,
Yeah,
needed some fuel for the day or what?
I need fuel for every day right now.
I hear you.
I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, man, I don't know what it was. Might be some different coffee or something, but I just drank a whole pot, like a whole crema pot thing. Not a whole pot, but fuck, I don't know.
What's a
I
crema
feel
pot thing? I don't know what that is.
it's the Italian metal thing you put on your stove.
Oh
Does
yeah,
the
yeah,
espresso? Yeah.
yep, yep.
Yeah, I don't know,
Cool.
man. I fucking
You're
go.
wired. You're good to go. This should be a good episode then. You know what I
Yeah.
was thinking? We should also not talk about COVID stuff too much
Okay.
because there's a week and a half delay with this. By the
Mm,
time this comes out, whatever we just talked about is old news, right? So
exactly. Not even relevant.
I was thinking about that, and that's always a thing we do with guests is we try not to just sit around and talk about what's going on. We talk about them or what they want to talk about because
Uh-huh.
then the episode dates itself really quickly, right? So
That is a good point.
yeah,
I mean, fuck though. It's hard
and
not to talk about shit.
well, I mean, you're obviously monitoring the financial news of it all pretty closely.
A little bit, yeah.
That's
But
why I
I'm
said
just
on Josh messaged us some news thing in our fucking group text, and I just reply unsubscribe because I was annoyed with his news updates. But
it was
I
like,
actually thought about being like, because you said you sent the article, then you said something else.
yeah.
Like I said unsubscribe, then the conversation resumed, and I thought about just writing unsubscribe in all capitals. I should have done that, but
I was like, oil price dropped below $1 a barrel, 10 cents a barrel, unsubscribe. And then it was like negative $37 a barrel.
so how does that work? Like who pays who? I don't get it. Or is that just kind of a metric?
I mean, in layman's terms, I suppose technically, you if you wanted to buy 1,000 barrels of oil today from me, I would pay you $37 per barrel.
Right. So is a oil company going to actually do that, or is it just kind of like a market measurement? You know what I mean?
So it's actually a futures contract, so it expired today, and everybody was trying to get out of it so that they didn't have to take physical delivery of all those barrels because
Mm.
every contract is 1,000 barrels. So I was posting on social media, just trolling people, being like, "Does anybody have a backyard I can put 1,000 barrels of oil in?" Just
Yeah.
made 37 grand, and yeah.
So okay, baller busters over there. Buy my day trading course. So fuck, what was I going to say? Right, but so is it just is that just like a quick like will the price rebound a little bit just because there's all these people offloading today's contract or whatever?
Yeah, I think that the actual price of oil is indicative of what next month's contract is because today is the expiry.
Mm-hmm.
So June is trading at, I don't know, 20 something dollars a barrel last I saw. I'm sure it's under 20 now, but that's indicative of what the actual price is. So, however,
Yeah.
the shit that we're producing in Alberta is dog shit apparently right now to the world.
Well, because it's not fully separated, like it has to be refined further. That's the issue, right?
Yeah, I was having a conversation with my roommates and I was like, I think this is the argument that we got to start refining at home.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I mean, it's become brazenly clear, right?
Mhm.
That, and I mean, even though to look at it in absolute big picture, the idea of a global economy is like it's a huge weak point, right?
Mm,
In that, like, when you totally outsource that supply chain, whatever it is, if that chain, if you only have one chain, it gets cut off. You know what I mean?
mhm.
I'm trying to think of a good analogy, right? But if, you know, if uh, Spain only produces one kind of trinket, and for
Yeah.
some reason you can no longer trade with Spain, you can no longer get said trinket, right?
Mhm.
But if you have a secondary and tertiary place to get trinket X,
Yeah.
right? You know what I mean? Like we're it's almost not diversified enough in that
Mhm.
it's too specialized. I mean, also looking at China for outsourcing a lot of manufacturing and stuff too, right? I mean, that's for yeah, I mean, people like cheap things, right?
Mhm.
There was a reason microwave was like $3,000 in the 1970s because it was produced in North America, right?
Sure.
There's a reason it's cheap now. So yeah, but then this is obviously the downside of it all being outsourced, is it gets totally cut off and we're totally screwed, right? So
Well, I mean,
yeah.
we're seeing it with fucking medical supplies, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of where I was
big
going with that.
example. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the whole we're going to shut off the taps and the world's going to go totally oil free is also this total misnomer because how much shit is produced with oil.
Mm-hmm.
Like, fucking plastic, Vaseline that you wipe your chapped ass with, you know, is just
And nothing else.
Yeah, nothing else. Yeah, it's fucking everywhere. Like I think that's the huge misnomer right now. And were we actually refining at home and producing those products? I mean, we still would have been hit, but
for sure. But I don't know. I think this is for anyone who's like pro Alberta oil, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
That you're gonna like. This makes a very strong argument for it, right? No matter what way you slice it, whatever side of the aisle you're on, objectively, this is going to be what people will lean back on as the argument. You know what I mean?
I was on fucking Twitter today and Bloomberg posted something about oil is now cheap enough that environmentalists can now buy it. And essentially the article was saying, just wait, the article was saying oil is cheap enough now that they can start buying up wells and shutting them down. But I replied to Bloomberg, that's because environmentalists have $0.
How's your Twitter fame coming along? Did that help it at all or no?
I got fucking 41 followers so far. We're doing good, man.
Oh, baby.
Good.
On a roll.
There was also some guy who was like, after I said, I just got paid 37 grand to put 1,000 barrels of oil in my backyard. Some guy replied, your wife said no after 1,000. I said, I don't blame her. She's got a lot of stacking to do.
Isn't the idea of a barrel of oil, quote unquote, is kind of an abstract concept, isn't it? For the sake of providing some unit of measurement. It's not like they're shipped in individual oil drums particularly often, right? So
it is a measurement up to like, I think it's a volume rather than a 1,000 barrels.
Well, yeah, exactly. 1,000 barrels won't show up. It's probably like one big truck or something like that, right? So, yeah, it's to put like a measurement you can perceive to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that like at the end of the day, these contracts were never meant to be, in most cases.
Realized.
Yes, you're right. So it's kind of more of a, we bought oil at $30 a barrel. We bought this contract or sold this contract to lock in that price for a future date. So we never have to worry about the price fluctuating is really what they're meant to do. But yeah, this is totally unprecedented. Like this has never happened before in the history of the futures market. So honestly, man, we're living fucking history every single day over the last like 2 months. It's pretty bonkers.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But I mean, even so, I mean, it all depends how much you look at it, I think, right? Like,
definitely.
It's like, I mean, if you went back 6 months, if you just watch the news every day, there's breaking news every day, right?
Yes.
So that part has remained the same. I mean, I don't know.
I've thought about just like shutting it all off, and you've seen the Chris D'Elia special where he talks about the news and like articles and shit. He's like, whenever somebody comes out to me and is like, hey, did you hear what happened? You have to be like, well, which thing are you talking about?
Oh, right. He's like,
That's actually a really good special.
It's so good. It's so funny. Chris D'Elia, no pain. Check it out for sure.
I think
kill an hour of your quarantine.
Definitely. It starts off a little bit slow, but it fucking gets good. It gets really good.
Did it? I don't know. I just enjoy the whole thing. Also, I mean, when it comes to comedy, if you're a fan of someone, you're so receptive that you just love every minute of it too, right? That's the thing, right? And even for even like shitty comedians, because if you watch their specials, or if you see like some random just for laughs clip or whatever, the audience is laughing their asses off, but you can sit there at home and be like, this fucking sucks, right? But it's because of the atmosphere kind of leading up to it, and it's a really receptive audience, because it's for the special taping, it's going to be all their fans, right? So
That's fucking true.
yeah,
That's true. Speaking of the special, because we went to Brendan Schaub last year when we were allowed to go.
Yep.
They were filming part of his special?
No.
Okay.
Why?
I thought they were for some reason.
No. If you actually watch it, it's in like a much bigger theater, like in a theater, not a club. So.
Fuck.
Yeah, they. It was probably just mentioning that when they introed him that he's taping it soon or something like that.
They tricked me.
Yeah.
I've wanted my laugh to be on tape forever and ever.
Yeah, such a shame, but
really is. So what have you been up to?
Shit, man, not a heck of a lot.
Yeah.
I go between phases of like complete despair and desperation to like just being full of ideas and all kinds of crazy plans for what to do now. Yep. And then I'll get very like meta futuristic of like, this will all one day be over. And then the next minute be like, this fucking sucks. So I don't know, man. It's been all over the map.
Bro, are you going through menopause or something?
What about you?
I've got it the same way. I'm just like, fuck. It's like, there's been a couple of days where I've just been like, I'm gonna do nothing today. Yeah. And there's been days where I've been like really productive, and then there's like no in between whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly. No, I feel there's certain days where, I'll kind of just wake up, make some coffee, go sit at my desk here like I would most normal days, and I'll actually have some stuff to do and plug away at.
Yeah. And
it'll feel like a semi-normal day, but then by like 1 p.m. you're like, well, I'm kind of out of things to do. So I guess that's a day. All right. But, or I'll go like, I'll have all kinds of ideas of like projects I want to work on and shit. And then I'll be like, well, do I really want to do them now? Like the problem I have, and here's another problem I've had being self-employed and have had to improve and master and continue to improve, is the issue with like, let's say you take on a new project of designing a new website, because that's kind of a semi-concrete thing you can picture, right?
Okay.
When you're a self-employed person, like you'll have a lot of day-to-day to do things that you just have to do, like any job. And then you'll kind of have like, in theory, you should have ongoing projects that don't have any sort of deadline, not necessarily urgent, but they are good proactive things to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
So the issue you have is when you look at your calendar, like you kind of have an infinite timeline to do those things, right? Because you look at your calendar for a week, and in theory, you could work that in any day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now that's kind of the issue now, especially where it's like there's so much talk about how long this is going to go, like whether it be August or August 2021 or who the fuck knows.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're like, well, I just have this indefinite time horizon. It's almost hard to get going on it because you like, it does sound like a procrastinator saying it, but you do have lots of time to work on it later as well. It's not like you won't have time in a month or in a week or in a day, right? So
I struggle with it too.
Time's a weird thing right now. So
I think the way that you get around it is just consistency, like saying, I'm going to do an hour of this every day. Mm-hmm. And like sometimes that hour turns into like fucking 6 hours, depending on how engaged you are with it.
That's the thing, is when you get going on something, you'll kind of get hooked and just it won't feel like any kind of work or whatever, or you'll be kind of in like, I hate saying cheesy words like flow state or whatever, but you will kind of be like, it's a snowball effect, right? So as you're saying, they're working on something, you get new ideas, you want to keep doing it, like you just kind of naturally keep going, and all of a sudden 4 hours have passed or whatever. So shit, that made me think of something else.
I'm just going to agree with what you said because you sound like a robot, but the recording is always fine. So
yeah. I think with just let it like ride out because it usually corrects itself.
We're gonna have a great conversation now because everybody can hear what he's saying, but I can't. So we're just gonna I'm gonna be like, yes, that's a very valid point.
Conversation 101. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck. No, now you're fine.
Okay, good. Yeah, just let it go. It usually comes out fine, or it'll sort itself out on the call. It kind of clicks in or whatever. So
Skype.
Yeah.
Skype. I wonder
well, it's the 900 million people using it at once or whatever. So yeah.
that may play into it. I'm wondering if there's another service that actually has even better quality, or if we have to pay for higher quality. I don't know.
I don't know. We should maybe look into Google Hangouts again, but
perhaps.
I don't know.
This is like the thing that we've kind of avoided because we're doing the in-person shows.
Oh yeah, like the delay, or like the news delay. It's like, we're here today with Josh Blaze. Going to you now, Josh.
Right.
Oh, did we lose? Oh, there he is. See, exactly that sort of shit.
It's 100% what it is. Yeah, I know. It's fucking. For anybody who's never conducted like an interview on a Skype call, it's just not smooth.
It's a little tough. I mean, some of them turn out. I mean, but then at the same time, I kind of think about the amount of podcasts that are like. Well, I mean, Spit and Chicklets is probably the most popular example where they have some in-person components, but it is largely like a Skype or Zoom call or whatever.
Yeah.
So the way that conversation works is it's kind of it goes around the horn, right? You know what I mean? Where host 1 talks, then host 2 talks, then host 3 talks, then host 4 talks, then host 1 talks, then host 3 talks, then host. You know what I mean? So it just doesn't quite mimic natural conversation, which I don't know. The good part about Skype-based podcasts is you can scale it a lot more and get more and bigger guests because it's not a physical or much of a time commitment. They just sit in front of their computer. But
yeah,
personally, I like going for the quality of in person better and the connection and conversation there.
It's almost 2 fucking different skills, to be honest with you. Like the in-person component and then like the Skype component, it's almost completely, to me, it's almost completely different. Like you're obviously talking, but there's that like you're comfortable with the pauses and a lot more. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Yeah. In the in-person, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can also read the room, and there's just so much difference to it. And I mean, this even ties into the whole, because the world's going a little more virtual now, but you'll never lose. Like, yeah, people might be more quick to do a Zoom call instead of a coffee meeting or something in the work world in the future. But there's kind of an importance to that. And you know what I mean?
Oh, 100%. Like even just how managing people tend to work better just when I can walk down the hall and say, James, like, this is off, or like, good work. Good work.
Ring one up for the bird, but
Austin Powers.
Is that what
he's in the fucking spacesuit, and he's like, good work. And then they're like, I can't hear you.
And we're back after FBI interrupted our call.
No, dude, I touched my headphone and the fucking thing turned off.
Do you have like an answer thing on your headphones?
Yeah, I accidentally like hit it, and it just
you fucking dumb. What the hell were we talking about? Austin Powers?
Yeah, and fucking Dr. Evil's in the spacesuit, and they're like, I can't hear you. And he's like, good work. And then they're like, I can't hear you. So he fucking hits the button on as soon as he's like, good work. And then, like, you remember that?
No, I don't remember that one.
Oh my God.
Is that one of the first? Because like the first 2 I've only seen like maybe once, but I've seen Goldmember 800 goddamn times. So if it's from
everybody
the other
listening.
Yeah.
Tom and I used to watch fucking Goldmember every single time.
All the time. Yeah.
Every single time he came over to my house.
This was before Netflix, so you had to watch the movies you had in your house. All right.
The Spy Who Shagged Me is the movie. So
Oh yeah.
yeah,
And is the first one just called International Man of Mystery?
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Amazing movies though.
Mm-hmm.
Underrated to the nth degree.
Underrated. I feel like most people know about it.
I don't know. I've heard people are like, keep hearing doors opening.
Why don't you just close your doors so it's not?
It's over there though.
All right.
No, I think the GF got home from work and she forgot her fucking phone at the house.
Oh. Fuck. What were we talking about?
Underrated.
Mm.
Overrated? Underrated.
I guess maybe underrated. I mean,
Yeah.
some people think it's cheesy. I don't know. It's an old movie now. I think the first one's from like 1999 or something.
I think Goldmember was 2003. Could be wrong.
Ooh. Crazy. You know what I did the other day? Speaking of quarantine ranges of emotions and stuff. Because like I don't know. I can't lie. I found myself like just thinking about the past, like wanting to be like, oh man, like I just want life to be normal again. And that was smooth. Was just saying there like, oh fuck, I want things to be normal. Want to go back to normal. Blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
But I got kind of high the other day and was just laying on the couch and was like sitting there going through the last like 3-4 years in my mind, just kind of like walking through the year and like what happened. Like obviously you don't remember every day, but kind of remembering certain events. And trying to remember was like, oh, was that year or that year? And I don't know. And I went through like a whole timeline of probably like, I would say January 2017 till like now, month by month.
Holy fuck.
Yeah.
A random walk through.
It was interesting. Like I felt really good. Like I don't know. It was it was a good time. But dude, I was just sitting there like just going through it, and I like to think my memory is pretty good apparently. So, but yeah.
I don't think I'd be able to do it. Like, be like month by month. I don't know.
Maybe more quarter by quarter would be more accurate. Specific months, I don't always remember when things happened, but
My mom messaged me on the 13th of April and was like, this day 4 years ago is your very first real estate sale. And I was like, how the fuck do you know
really? She remembered that? That's awesome.
that? I was like,
that's sweet.
How do you
You wrote
remember
that
this?
down?
I don't know. Probably. She's a fucking scrapbooker. So
Oh, is she?
not
She have
that
the
she has a
fucking, like,
picture of me holding a contract or
or-
some shit, but
Damn. That's
yeah.
hilarious. That's awesome. That is awesome. I actually like that. That's good. I wonder if mine would have been like August-ish.
Yeah.
I should look up the date on that.
15.
15. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shit. Oh, I'm just impressed that you remembered that. That would be
100%.
Good for her.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
You know, like everybody like frames their first dollar they ever
Yeah,
made
I
or
was
whatever.
about to say, yeah.
Should have done that with the old irrigation company.
Oh yeah. That would have been an idea. Frame the first check.
Yeah.
Never cashed it because it's in the frame, but let me get my old notes up here. So normal pause. Might have to cut this down because I forgot what I wanted to talk about.
I love normal pauses. You just gotta be like, oh, the thing lagged. You just blame it on the fucking thing lagging, bro.
Yeah, just blame it on the like.
Improvise.
Yeah, exactly. That's a way better idea.
Use like fucking notepad or something. What notes you got for this show?
Fuck. Do you remember? I'm just thinking of this now, but maybe this is like, do you ever remember? I remember you doing this one time, and I must have done it as well, where we
Mm.
had like a potential, we were together, like doing work or whatever, and years ago, and like a call would come in from someone who was like looking to sell or whatever, and you
Mm.
start talking to them, and they'd just be like going off about who the fuck knows what.
Yeah.
um, and then like you're like, okay, this clearly isn't a client, and they just keep like talking and going in circles, asking the same questions, and you're like, oh, Kate, so it's going to be this and this. Anyways, sorry, I have a client. Call me back on the other line. I gotta go now. Just hang up and delete their number. Like, holy fuck.
I've done that a few times.
Yeah.
Never to any of my clients, but
No, never. Like it's, fuck, man. Like, just to defend ourselves. Sometimes, dude, you get the calls of like people who are just like, and I'm sure this is in any job, but people who are just like, you can tell sometimes when someone's going to be insanely difficult. And you know what? Like as an agent, as fuck any kind of, even at like semi self-employed or anything where you kind of have a control over who you work with.
yeah.
Like you need to listen to the gut feeling of like, oh, this person and I are completely incompatible. Like listen to it, right?
Yeah.
Or this person's gonna be insanely difficult to work with. Like
Mm.
trust your instinct. And then agents specifically, like I've done enough deals that I can, kind of pinpoint a certain personality type.
Mm.
I'm like, I know this is gonna go terribly. And I've been doing it long enough that like I've had those moments where I'm like, this isn't gonna end well, but you know what? I can try to make it work. And then 2 months later, flash forward to me being like, oh my fucking God, why did I do this to myself? So, but
Oh, most definitely.
yeah.
There's also people that like call you to like almost rant about shit, and you're like, "Am I getting paid $130 an hour as your therapist?" Like,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a fine line between you want to be a good, caring, empathetic person, right?
Mhm.
And obviously, we're in a job where the lines between business and personal get a little blurry sometimes just because it's
Mhm.
such a big part of people's lives. But at the same time, yeah, like it's, I don't know. You do wear many hats, and sometimes you have to be just be someone to listen, right?
Mhm.
Because I've had clients who like I like them and things went perfectly, but I did know every time they phoned me, it's like this is like a minimum 20-minute phone call, right? And that's just how it is, right?
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
um, but shit, yeah, I
No,
don't know.
100%. Yeah.
And then sometimes they like start oversharing with you, and you're like, I don't know if you should be telling me this, but I don't know, not my their prerogative, I guess. But
Yeah. I don't know. Some people just like to open up on the cell phone, I guess.
yeah, exactly. I mean, some people are pretty more open than others, but yeah.
I like to think I'm good at getting it out of people because, like, I've sat on airplanes next to somebody and we got off the airplane being like best friends. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think that even what we were talking about earlier, like just being kind of good at conversation, right? I mean, that's what a lot of soft skills break down to, honestly.
RIP
But
airplanes.
yeah. So what are people just gonna like not go anywhere ever again, right? Like what's next, So
Yeah. I was reading an article about how, like, China's back open, but people aren't going out to restaurants.
oh,
And I was
okay.
like, we actually even talked about this last week. I was like, that's probably also what's going to happen. Also, have you ordered from fucking Cactus Club lately?
No, why?
Because they have like, you like roll up to the restaurant, you park in front, you text them the color and make of your car, you open your trunk, they put it in the trunk, you drive away. It's like,
Really interesting. I gotta
these
tell
guys know how a drug deal is done.
yeah, they they know how to do it. Fuck, that's funny. Yeah, I wonder because my roommate works for a restaurant as well, and they're doing like lots of to go and pick up and shit. But I don't know if they're doing that. I think they have a different way for working it out. But that's fucking funny. No, I haven't ordered anything from Cactus. Are they on like Skip the Dishes?
I don't think they're doing that. I think they're just doing pickup, and I don't even know if they're doing delivery.
Yeah, let's check right now.
This
is very important information. Hector.
It is. It is. Do the waitresses come with it? No, but is Earl's doing groceries?
Oh yeah, no Cactus Club on Skip.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do like a grocery pack thing now that you can buy from them. Like meat and veggies and stuff. We bought one of the meat ones off of them actually. It was pretty good price. So
nice.
Yeah, it's like not outlandishly more expensive than
supermarket
going to the grocery store or whatever. So it's fair enough.
What
Honestly, I also think a bunch of crap. I don't even remember. But it was a lot of food. And then the big thing being because I think the issue is a lot of this stuff because like they're doing a more limited menu, and then also people don't order everything when they're ordering out.
Yeah.
So I think the problem is they have quite a bit of a lot of what they order because it comes in regular intervals. They don't use it all up. So they'd rather just, I don't know. And yeah, I mean, businesses have to get creative, right? So
I think it's a good model because McDonald's, no fucking hash browns because they're doing the limited menu.
Really? No hash browns?
No hash browns, no bagels is what at least they were telling me at Linwood.
Oh, I did see a news thing about that, and I saw it was bagels. It was because it was a lot of the weird items I thought, but I'm surprised to see hash browns. I thought those would be simple enough.
Fuck, I love those things. We had a bunch of coupons that came in the mail.
Like a 2 can dine for $8.99.
Oh fuck, I've never ate so much McDonald's in my whole life.
Love when those coupons show up and you can be like, honey, we can finally go out for dinner. Take you out for an anniversary dinner.
I have there's a good food coupon or something for like $45. You can get one of those meal kits coming in. Those fucking meals.
Oh, is that similar to like not Eat Fresh?
Hello Fresh. Hello Fresh. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's Blue Apron and whatever. There's 100 of them.
I've actually never done one of those.
Neither have I. You done Mealcraft though?
Yeah, but that's different because
it is different.
Fresh is like cooking.
Yeah, Mealcraft is different.
Yeah. Shout out Mealcraft. Just immediately start going into an ad read.
Fuck, you know what I like about amazing.
That would have been so spectacular. We should have just rolled with it. Funny you mentioned that, Josh. Mealcraft is different. Fuck. Well, I kind of like back in the day when we did that, and I've noticed this in podcasts. Like I listen to Two Bears, One Cave quite a bit, which is Bert Kreischer and Tom Segura. It's pretty funny. I don't know if you like those guys or not, but because their ad reads, like there's sort of ad copy they give them, but most of these companies, especially when it's a comedian, they just kind of give them free reign of like, okay, here's the points you need to get across, kind of do your thing. So they'll basically just be like ripping on each other, reading these ads. And like, it's so funny. And it actually makes it, I mean, I usually skip the ads, but there's all kinds of brands that I'm well aware of now because they're in all the same kind of podcasts, right? So
yeah, Theo Vaughn does a pretty good ad read on his.
Yeah,
just like in general, he's very good at
voice. Yeah.
Fuck, I was gonna say something about that, but no, because YouTube ad reads are a thing now too, right? So there's definitely.
Oh right, yeah. Like rather
definitely
than just rather than like an ad, it's like an ad within the video kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like NordVPN or whatever.
Yeah, it's like, but first a word from blah blah blah. There's like, what is good news, and then they'll
Raid Shadow Legends. Do you see that fucking all the time? Shit, man. Ever since you've exposed me to Baller Busters, when I see there's like 2 or 3 of those like YouTube pre-roll ad agencies that always advertise that are legit as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of ones that just seem really sketchy, and they're all Amazon, FBA, fulfilled by Amazon drop shipping bullshit. And
Yeah.
now I'm just like, every single time I see those, I'm just like, And actually, and last night on Instagram, that's why I was thinking about this, because I saw 2 boosted posts for like Instagram influencer / e-commerce gurus, and then like 2 posts in a row in my explore feed, and I'm just like, I don't know, man. I'm pretty skeptical of those. And you can also see a lot of those guys' posting rates.
Yeah.
Up until March 16th was very consistent of like 3 times a week, and now they've posted like 1 time since then or whatever. So yeah, can't rent Lambos anymore. Very skeptical of that. So
They're going after G Cardone on that.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
They're really harping on him.
Yeah.
Used to be a decent well, I read a lot of his books and stuff. Like, obviously it was slightly hokey old school sales advice, but
Yeah.
some of his stuff was okay, like his energy and stuff, but obviously he's I don't know. He always seemed a little fishy, and now it's become fairly obvious he's a decent crook, it would seem. But
well, I don't know if that's 100%. I think that there's definitely cracks that may be showing, but I'm going to wait and see if there's actually a legitimate downfall or not. It'll be interesting. Very interesting.
Right. Actually, that's a good point. Because I mean, obviously, like an account, like an exposed account like that, is also going to go super aggressive with anything they find, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. He also, like, fuck, man, when I see it, because now he's all big into the conference thing. Like, he did the first one years ago at like an arena, and now he did one at like a baseball stadium, and I'm like, because the cheapest tickets were like $2,000, and there are tons of tickets that were like 15,000 and stuff, and I'm like, there's no way, even if you sell a bunch of those out, I just couldn't see how he could possibly make money doing that, right? Or like the margins would be razor thin. So,
although I mean, fucking, that's what Tony Robbins does and sells out.
Yeah, but that's been going since what, like the 80s or whatever, and it's built in a bit of a different way. I don't know.
Yeah, this is all our opinion. Don't fucking sue us.
Yeah, we're just figuring it out like the rest of yous. So, but last night I was actually kind of reading some stuff, just sort of on Twitter from, the more eloquent minds on there or whatever, kind of hypothesizing, kind of COVID, like, when do we get back to semi-reality? Because I think a lot of people kind of clung to like, it'll be like 3 months or whatever. And now that some time has gone by, you're like, okay, it's very clear it's going to be longer than that. But I don't know. It's very interesting because I believe we'll be able to sort of get back to doing more things before a vaccine. But what we need is like an effective treatment, right? But it's kind of a question of how soon that's going to be and what it's going to look like. And, you can't just, things won't just snap back to reality. Whoop, there goes gravity. But, it can't just like instantly go back. But, and also even for the because I listen to so many comedians podcasts, they're like, well, you can't just like open clubs again, because you can't just all of a sudden have 200 people in a club or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
And people won't just have disposable income either. Right. That's a big kind of flawed assumption too. So
yeah,
I don't know, man. One thing I saw that was interesting was, because in theory, I'm not going to be just a flu simp, right?
Okay.
But when you evaluate the numbers, like, I get that there's exceptions to the rule and stuff, and anyone who's more directly affected by this, like, I'm obviously very, very sympathetic. But when you average out the numbers, people under 45 are at very low risk if they take proper social distancing measures. So one kind of semi-prevailing idea I've seen, who knows if there's any weight to this or if it will happen, more importantly, is that like kind of people under age 45 are allowed to sort of go back to work, but wearing like masks and, 2 meters away, kind of at all times, right?
Mhm.
And that's, across obviously different businesses, like let's say like a manufacturing line, they'll have to modify how their business is done so people can be far enough apart, so on and so forth.
Are you following Naval Ravikant?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that was where I read that.
Yeah.
Because he's, I don't know, he's an interesting guy and obviously way smarter than me. So I think his opinions are semi-valid, right?
Sure.
But yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
I think that, yeah, you almost have to do that whole lock up the old and vulnerable,
Yeah.
or get them to self lock themselves up, and kind of get people back to reality 100%.
Yeah.
Because how long can you go without paying bills?
Mm-hmm.
And that's on
Mm-hmm.
a governmental and country level, not just
Right. And
individual.
that, like, we have to kind of face the reality of, like, let's pretend it's 2 years to a vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
We literally cannot stop everything for 2 years. Like, it's just not possible, right?
Definitely not.
And I mean, we kind of have to like face I don't know, I shouldn't say obviously, I'm someone who's taking the social distancing very seriously. I'm not going to be out there being one of those like protesting dum-dums, right?
In California.
But yeah, but I mean, I think the biggest thing is like, how do I put this? Like, we as a generation, like,
Mm-hmm.
and as individuals, like, we're going to have generational debt. That is both as individuals, then as a country, as a province, as a city, as a whole, right?
Yeah.
So, what are the actions we need to take to semi-minimize that while being, like taking effective safety precautions at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
but not be reeling for the rest of our lives financially, right?
It's like this fine
Yeah.
balance where a lot of people are playing devil's advocate of how many people would you say is okay to
I see where
die?
here's the thing. Here's the thing. You almost have to take, like, I would describe it. You've seen some of the Avengers movies, right?
Yes.
Okay, so Thanos, right?
Yes.
You almost have to take kind of the Thanosian view of it, where, like, yes, it's very objective and cold and calculating, but
Mm-hmm.
you can at least understand the logic behind it. You know what I mean?
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
I think, and then everybody plays the emotional card of, well, that could be your mom or dad, and
Or
I
grandparent.
get that. I
Well,
mean, I
and
get that.
I mean, the problem too is, like, it's a very horrid sickness and death too, right? Like, so that obviously that's where your emotions come into it, and being a sympathetic person, you're not just going to say, all right, fuck it, let's just go out, but then all these people are dying these terrible deaths. Like, no one's going to say that's the idea. But at the same time, the opposite viewpoint would be, well, the death toll cannot be zero by definition, right? So I don't know. It's one of those things where, I mean, you have to weigh the balance. And I mean, I think hopefully we can get an effective treatment for it, like in terms of just a drug that will minimize the sickness, right? And then that will have to tide society over for like probably a year, I think, before there's vaccination.
Yeah, I mean, and also, I don't know enough about the, like, because what you're going for is herd immunity.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about if you get it, do the antibodies actually fight it off in the future, or
Right, and that appears to be a thing with like the second wave, and then people get it again, etc. So I don't know. Like, I think what it will eventually look like is the what it'll eventually look like, I would say, is, I mean, it'll be a vaccine. Like, will the vaccine be 1,000% preventative? Maybe not, but if it does have a relatively large herd immunity, it'll at least allow us to be normal. And then I don't know, I could see it being like something like, let's say, like, I don't know, bronchitis or something, where, like, if you got it in the Wild West days, you died. If you get it now, yeah, you're pretty sick, but you take some pills for a week or whatever, and you're fine,
Sure.
right? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I
There's
don't
just
know.
so many unknowns, right? And
I think
obviously, we are by no means medical professionals, but
no. I was
reading
just gonna
about
say.
y-
I think. Sorry. Go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say it just changes so much, and there's so many weird random variables, and it's not super predictable, and there's because nothing's been seen like this, so there's just constantly new issues with it, frankly, I guess, right?
Yeah.
But
Well, we're living through it, and people are making more discoveries as we go on.
mhm, mhm.
It's it's very interesting. I again, yeah, don't have a DR in front of my name, even though I do that sometimes when I'm signing up for things. But yeah.
Yeah, it is funny that they give you that option on like a drop down list. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. Fuck, we'll see. I mean, the uh, the reason, I mean, without sounding like ignorant or whatever, but just for like everyone's sake, I
Mhm.
hope we can find a workable solution where people can kind of go back to work and at least sort of make enough to like sustain themselves
Yeah.
until the real solution comes about. You know what I mean? Like kind of a band-aid fix that sort of uphold like basically we're kind of as a society Dutch boys and Dutch girls at a dam plugging holes for now, right? And if we can manage to plug enough holes that gets our economy like holds up the bottom and prevents it from totally falling off until
Yeah.
the world goes back to normal, like that's good enough, right? You know what I mean? Like get to like a vaguely break even kind of working solution to tide us over for 6 to 12 months. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%. I'm with you there too.
Yeah. And for everyone's own sanity, so they can kind of go do things, you know. I don't know.
Leave the house, at least.
Yeah, yeah.
Kind of.
Well, here's what I was thinking about the other day. Like, pretend, first of all, and we've talked about this before, like when stuff opens up, people are gonna be hesitant to go in public, right? Just because
Definitely.
you've built a habit and you've kind of been conditioned over however long this lasts that it's bad too. There's germs out there. Keep your distance, et cetera, right?
Sure.
So I don't know. It's going to be a very weird feeling. Just even like, I mean, I think about going to the gym because I definitely miss going to the gym. So I'm thinking about the gym, and it's just going to be feel so weird being in there again.
Yeah.
And like, will you have to like schedule your workout time with them if they can only allow 50 people in and all that shit and book machines and blah blah blah. I don't know.
All good questions.
Mm-hmm,
The
mm-hmm.
solution,
Yeah.
get a fucking garage gym.
Yeah, exactly.
I've already worked it out.
I have the solution. Yeah, man. Fuck. I mean, I think the biggest thing is to just kind of roll with the punches and accept this is history. Um, and that, well, like, for me and so many people, I think a lot of people tried to cling to normal life for as long as possible
Oh,
and
yeah.
resist, frankly, sitting around all day. But, and like, you can still be productive, but you kind of
Mhm.
have to, right? Eventually, you're going to have a day where there's nothing to do and you have nowhere to go and you can't go anywhere. And that's perfectly fine, right?
Mhm.
And we kind of have to accept that and roll with it because we're trying to apply our normal day to day worldly perspectives to things. But I don't know, just have to go with the ebbs and flows of it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Fuck. I don't know, man. It's interesting. It's the thing that made it click for me was because I was talking to my dad the other day because he was on like a call with just like a call talking about the economy with a bunch of people for some
Yeah.
investment stuff. And the one thing he said that he heard in there, it was like a webinar sort of thing, that one economist said was like, whatever way we slice it, guys, is like in 100 years they're gonna write about the quarantine of 2020. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh shit, that's a good point, right? Like
Mhm.
life's going to be irregular during this time. So hopefully not for too long, but I even take a little bit of comfort in the fact that someday you will sort of forget about this. And what I mean by that is like not totally erase your mind, but
Yeah.
someday in the future, someone will say to you, hey, do you remember like when we were quarantined when we were like 20 something? And you'll be like,
Yeah.
oh, fuck, right. That was like, you know, 6 months or 12 months or however long it ends up being. But you know what I mean? Like you won't think about it every single damn day. You'll kind of forget. You'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that. And you know, what did you do during it? Like it'll be a distant memory eventually, I guess.
I just take comfort in the fact that everybody else is going through it too. So it's
that's the biggest thing. And for me, I had to kind of get over myself and say like, this isn't a me problem or you problem or like any individuals.
Yeah.
Right. Like it sucks for everyone. That's the biggest thing.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And in theory, end of the day, this in theory hopefully has an end. And that would be like a vaccine, herd immunity, whatever, right? You know, it's not like something like, say, this rival is going to rival the Great Depression, and the Great Depression just kind of went on indefinitely, right? More or less until the NAD economy just came around. This at least has a more foreseeable end, I guess. So,
hopefully, I mean, AIDS has been around since the 80s, so.
But that's the thing, right? It's not like a mass. Kind of going back to what I was saying earlier, it's kind of a preventative thing.
Yeah.
Now or treatable. And I actually heard a thing about this because a concern with viruses is because they mutate and evolve. But the more you vaccinate and build immunity, the virus actually mutates weaker because it breaks it down or something like that. So
I also heard something that viruses in real life generally mutate to be worse versions of themselves.
Yeah,
because actually a virus is almost unsuccessful if it kills its host. Like it's a failure if you die.
Right.
It wants to
that's a good point, right? Because it needs to bind to something. So, but that almost kind of goes with it. But supposedly, like current day AIDS is like much weaker than the first strain or whatever.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. I heard a thing on that. Didn't research it, but supposedly that's a thing. And it apparently applies to all viruses, but who knows? I don't know. I like to think
Speaking
there
of
will
AIDS,
definitely be a new normal, but hopefully we get back to a semi-familiar normal sometime eventually, right?
Speaking of HIV, because Magic Johnson has HIV and is a basketball player, have you seen the new Michael Jordan basketball documentary?
Good tie-in. No, actually, have you watched it? I've been meaning to. I saw it.
It just came out last night.
Yeah, I was about to say that just came out, right? So
yeah,
I'm not that behind on it, but it looks good. I'm very interested to see it.
I'm very interested as well because
there's a series.
It is. There's a 10-part series.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, Netflix for us Canadians, ESPN for you Yanks.
Yeah.
Let me know how it is.
That's definitely on the watch list.
That was a good segue. Like that, I don't know how I related that to
amazing tie-in versus just randomly being like, so anyways. You know what I was thinking though about like speaking of Netflix releases, I'm assuming this all probably came out at once, right?
Okay.
As a whole series.
Yeah.
But because I rewatched a TV show I still like it. Community. Did you ever watch that show?
No, actually, I don't think I've ever even seen an episode.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't know if it's your style, but you know, it's a funny, kind of quirky comedy. Like it was kind of the grandparent to shows like Brooklyn Nine-Nine or whatever. Like it was kind of the first one, but it was never like massively popular at the time it was on. But, you know, rewatching it, especially a show like that where it's a 30-minute show on a cable slot, so they're like 22-minute episodes, like it goes by so quick. And I was kind of thinking like with old TV shows and older generations and stuff, we had a different relationship with TV shows. You know what I mean? Because let's say you watched a show for 7 seasons, it's on for 7 years. You watch it every week, 8 months out of the year. Like your life is happening between those episodes. So I think you actually built a closer bond to those TV shows because it was more part of your coming up or whatever. You know what I mean? Versus now, when a show is, there's 10 episodes per season, but they drop it all at once and you watch it in an afternoon.
Yeah.
You're not really building that relationship over time with that TV show, which is why I also think when you rewatch some TV shows, you're like, as always, some things are sometimes better left as a memory, right? But when you rewatch it, you're like, yeah, this is pretty good, but like, is it that amazing? You know what I mean? Like, if you've watched a show with over time, if you watched it live, let's say, I feel like you have a deeper connection to it.
That's an interesting
someday people will have less connection with their TVs or stories because they're used to it dropping all at once on Netflix. Like, I know some TV shows, they'll release it every week on Netflix, but I just wait till the end and watch it all anyways, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's only big one, like Stranger Things and stuff like that does that. So
yeah. Interesting perspective. Never even thought about that, but you're probably correct.
Yeah, I don't know what made me think. I think I was just rewatching it and thinking about it because Community had issues with getting canceled and repicked up and stuff over its years. So I was kind of reading some of the history of it, and I think that's what made me think of it.
So you should watch Long and Hard podcast every week of your life.
Week for the rest of eternity.
Once,
and we will be here, God damn it.
Yeah.
Wednesday mornings, which is totally when we are recording this.
We've been pretty good at dropping it at the right time. So
yeah. Well, that's probably a good spot to call it. Hey.
Yeah, boy. I think that's an hour already. So
all right. Well, we will see you, all of you, and more next week because you're gonna tell 10 friends about it, and they tell 10 friends, and they tell 10 friends, and
it's kind of like Amway.
Yeah, that's how we're gonna recruit listeners now.
Peace out.